So yesterday morning, I jumped in my vehicle to go and I noticed it was turning over really slow, really slow. Anyway, it started. So I said, okay, we have a problem here. Basically, it sounds like a dead battery. I'm in a hurry. I want to check it in a hurry. So instead of going into a whole bunch of different checks, I went the easiest possible way to check if you have a dead battery and why the battery is dead. So I'll run through that now. First thing I did, you grab the multimeter, you turn around and you put it DC volts. Positive to positive, negative to negative. And when I did this, I came up with 11.6 volts. Right there, that's telling me that battery is dead. Because a fully charged battery is anywhere between 12.6 to 12.8 volts. A dead battery is 12.2 volts. I didn't have to go any further. I do have another meter, I'll show it to you. I could have used this to check, but this is kind of useless when you only get 11.6 volts. This you would have to, before you use this, you would have to fully charge the battery. And I know this battery's old. It's been in here. I checked afterwards. Been in the vehicle for 10 years. Pretty much 10 years about maximum you're going to get out of a battery. Anyway, so there was no need to use this, but normally I would. I'll leave a link to the meters and all this in the description. But you're never 100% sure it's the battery. The day before ran fine, it started fine. But when I parked it overnight, I may have left some type of light in the vehicle. A glove box light could have come on. I could have left the dome light on. I don't know. So to see if there's a draw in the system that killed the battery, I jump over to this meter. I'll leave a link in the description for this also. It's got a Hall sensor on it. So I'll take that and I'll just go to amps. I'll switch it over to DC amps. And it's jumping around. I'll move it away from everything. I'll zero it out and I'll just put it on my positive cable. The Hall sensor is showing me I have no draw in the vehicle, so therefore definitely a dead battery. Open the door, which turns the dome light on, and if I would have left the dome light, it would have gave me 0.5 to 0.6 volts of a constant draw overnight. That would be enough to bring my battery down. It could have caused this problem. Yeah, the next thing I did at the beginning is 11.6 volts. I checked draw, then I checked see if I was charging. And I'll start it now. Let's get this off of here so it doesn't fall down. 14.3, 14.2. So the alternator is good. It was just a bad battery. Is use this. If you have no draw and your battery's dead, there's a reason. The battery is too old and sulfated, and it's draining itself. Took the old battery out. A friend down the road, I gave him a call and I said, you wouldn't happen to have a spare battery lying around? Because I had stuff to do yesterday. And he said, sure. Because I knew and I do the same thing. If I scrap a car, I take the catalytic converter off it, I take the battery out and I charge it. I got a few dead ones in the back, but no good ones. So he had a good one. He said, sure, just come on down, pick it up. So I drove down and swapped it in his yard, and which this battery here is his, and it's coming up at 12.8, which is a good battery. And the new one is over here. And what I like doing is, a lot of times you don't have this opportunity, you don't have a spare battery and you need the vehicle right away. But I like putting, like I said, I picked it up yesterday, put a brand new battery on charge before I put it in the vehicle. What you don't want to do, you don't want to leave a bad battery in a vehicle too long, because the next thing you're going to do, now you have a bad battery, the next thing you're going to have is a bad alternator, because the alternator will constantly be trying to charge a bad battery and it will overheat and eventually fail. So as soon as you find out your vehicle's kind of getting hard to start, or you check it with your multimeter, or you check with the battery tester, don't put it off, say, oh, I'll do it next week, what have you. Do it right away, or you're going to end up doing a battery and an alternator. Okay, so we're going to get into changing this. You can add something to the vehicle, which I do have, so you don't lose all your presets on your radio station. I talked about that in an earlier video, but I've already disconnected the battery over there. I didn't have my unit with me. I'm not going to bother hooking something up to keep all my presets and everything else. I've already disconnected. It's going to reset the computer, so all the mapping is going to have to come back to basic, and it's going to have to remap. It's not hard. First thing you do is always disconnect the negative first. And as far as tools, I'm just using this 10 millimeter on this side. The other side I changed in on that ages ago. I do have dielectric on here, so I'm just going to put some gloves on, and so I'll be back. Okay, I put a pair of gloves on. Like I said, there's still dielectric grease on this from before. So disconnect the negative, and on this, the positive is a different size. That one is 13. Sometimes you got to put a screwdriver in there and give it a little twist, but this one came out not too bad. And this battery doesn't have a handle. Okay, well in here, you're going to see how dirty the tray is. Which is right here. It's got a rock in it. Clean that out. Yeah, it's probably a little loud. Let me just blow that out. It's not really dirty down there. They do once a year wash this engine bay. And you see a bit of rust right there. So I'm going to clean that up and get something on it. Besides that, 21-year-old vehicle, that's not too bad. So I'll clean that one spot right there and get some, I'll see what I think I have crown rust. I'll spray that on it. Yeah, what I have is actually rust check. So I'm just going to spray it on this area, and then I'm going to put the pad back down and be done. When you're working around a battery, always wear gloves and safety glasses. This can has to be straight up and down to spray, and I can't. Put the battery tray back in place and grab the new battery. Hold down on these batteries here. And it was this way before. Get the battery centered. Hold downs are ready to be tightened up. Like I say, I'm just using this little wrench. I'll snug it up. I might have to move it back and forth. Just these wires are really, really tight on here. I've already ran this over the post while I was on the bench. This is kind of worn out. It should be replaced, but it's not that dirty in here. Clean those out, which are really not that dirty. And get some dielectric grease, silicone dielectric grease, and put it on the terminals. And then what I actually do, I just don't put it on the terminals, I also put it on these posts. That way they don't rust in place and they always come off. That's why I can take this off after 21 years. I use a screwdriver to get it out of there. That's all that's used for, is stuff like this. O-rings and batteries. Okay, hook the positive up first. Get some of this stuff in here. You want it everywhere. This I serviced not too long ago. I took this apart and cleaned these wires and put it back together, so I know this is good. Back that off. It's a little wider than the old one. I'll have to tap it down, not hard. Okay, that's tight enough. You don't want to overdo it because you can actually split these. And now we'll do the negative. Check it, make sure it's not loose. Don't over tighten it again. Okay, that's tight. Now the battery's in place. Wires fit. Okay, that's tight without over tightening. You don't want to over tighten. You don't want to squash the battery. And this goes up over here, which holds it away from that bracket. Mentioned earlier, I'm just going to put a bit of dielectric grease on the hold down bolts and nuts. It stops any corrosion from forming, and you can always get them out after. Been doing it for years, and I never get them rusted up on me. It may look dirty, but I prefer having something a little greasy that comes off than have something that's seized on and broken. You have to go replace parts. Okay, we have clearance. So the bracket's not going to wear through my main cable. That cable should be longer. That's probably why it's getting tight here. But the other battery, there was enough clearance it didn't even come close to touching it. This one, maybe the battery's a little wider here, or the pole's a little further this way. What happened was, as as soon as I got this, I was only 3 years old. That connection was all green. Nobody's ever put dielectric, but it was inside the post. I had to cut the main cable back and put this one in. So that was done many, many years ago. Now, I figured I'd add this in here. When I say a fully charged battery is, I'll average it out, 12.7. It goes from 12.6 to 12.8. But that also depends on temperature outside. I'll find a chart and see if I can put it in the video somewhere. Sometimes you will check a battery, the vehicle's just running, and the battery would say 13, 13.5, 14 volts. That's not what the battery it is. Let the battery sit for a day, and that basically tells you, or take the surface charge off it. Like I say, you can check it. It may have a surface charge of 14 volts or 13.5. But once the surface charge is gone, the true battery voltage should be 12.7 at a full charge. Anyway, I thought I'd add that in there. I'll find a chart and see if I can put it in. You can pause and read different temperatures and percentages of what it is, 12.5, 12, 12.4 percentage left of the battery. Anyway, I'll see if I can find that for you and put it in the video. Okay, anyway, that was my battery replacement on my 2001 Suzuki Grand Vitara, 21-year-old vehicle. It's fairly simple. I use 2 wrenches, a 13 and a 10, but the test equipment is what led me to replace the battery, which the Hall sensor is pretty expensive. If you ever decide to get one just to check for amps, if you get a bulb or something on, there's different ways of testing it. You can test it with the multimeter. The Hall tester is a lot easier. Anyway, you got to make sure it does AC and DC. A lot of them just do AC, not the DC. Anyway, if you like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching my video. Bye for now.